Alrighty, welcome back to the channel. Just quickly before I get into the main point of the video, which I'm sure you can see by the title, I just want to quickly give a channel update on why I've been a little MIA. This year in general has just been a tough year. Such is life, however. I've been in and out of hospital, not necessarily for myself, but for family members, dealing with work, blah blah blah, this blah blah blah. That's just been a busy, tough year. On top of that, I also pursued the YouTube stuff this year, so it's just been a lot to do. More specifically, however, and I'm not trying to trauma dump on you guys, I'm managing, but my father passed away. So I've taken some time just to focus on that, myself, blah blah blah, make sure I'm alright. I am planning to keep this community and channel going full steam ahead. It is one of the things that my father, he more or less thought I should have done this a long time ago, and he more or less got me into gaming. And so to that, I appreciate you, Dad, thank you. I love you. I'll catch you in the Akira, the hereafter. Alrighty, now on to the actual video. This will most definitely come off as a rant style video, but I'm not looking to just rant and shit on Fatshark, although yes, I'm most definitely going to do that in this video. I think it's important to preface everything that I'm about to say that I come from the perspective of I have almost 2,500 hours in this game. I love the Warhammer 40k IP. I have very much enjoyed Darktide, and ultimately I do want Fatshark to succeed, but I don't think they're going to do it the way they're continuing down this road. I would love for one day Darktide to be direct competition to Helldivers 2, but I think we can all agree with what they're doing and have been doing for the last few years. It's just not the way to go about things. I also just want to say, if that you're 50, 100, 200, 300 hours deep into Darktide, a lot of what I'm about to say probably won't apply to you, but I can promise you it will. And it shouldn't be a problem or problems in a game that's been out for 3 years and is meant to be a live service game. Anyway, let's go into the first problem. And again, I will try to give solutions where I can, but I just want to list out problems. And again, between the community's voice and more things like this being done, I'm hoping we can start pushing this game into the right direction. So the first problem, and I think the community sentiment around this is pretty vocal, is the lack of content. What do I actually mean by this? The Arbitrator was released. I'm not even going to talk about right now the state of his release. You removed the Rexplosion, but kept in other interactions that abuse the same mechanic. You then busted his bleed, and then you removed that busted bleed, rightfully so. I don't know if it was rightfully so to remove Rexplosion. I still don't think that was game breaking. It could have been a happy little accident like the other mechanics, since you're leaving those in. Anyway, I digress. You then broke like 25% of his talent tree to be non-functioning with the dog, which is kind of like the main point of the class. And then you went on holiday. I understand you gotta go on holiday, it's enforced by a government, blah blah blah, whatever. But why not just fucking roll back to the Rexplosion and deal with it when you come back? Why leave it in a broken state while you're on holiday? I just don't understand the logic behind it, I really don't. Then the Arbitrator was released with 7 melee weapons. Only 2 of them are actually unique, the other 5 are shared among the other classes. Of the 11 ranged weapons, again, only 2 of them were unique. That's being the shield and pistol, and the shotgun, and the shock maul, and shield, and arbite shock maul. In comparison, the veteran has 14 ranged weapons. Now yes, at higher levels of play, only a few of them are going to be meta if you respect the other people's time. Sure, I can go into a Havoc 40 with a Devil's Claw and a Vigilant autogun, and I can most definitely clear it, but at that point I'm just disrespecting my teammates' time, when I could just put on the bolter or the plasma gun, when I could just put on the dueling sword, knife or power sword, put in the same amount of effort and get 5 times the results. So really we only have a few options. This comes to a weapon balancing problem, which I'll discuss later, but I just want to touch on now. Going back onto the lack of content, you then have Ogryn, who's been in the game since the start. He's got 6 melee weapons and 6 ranged weapons. Really? Like, do I really need to say more about that? I remember so vividly in Gears of War 1 or 2, when you kill an enemy with 1 of each weapon, you get an achievement, and that achievement is called Variety is the Spice of Life. I very much agree with that as far as gaming goes, and there is just not enough variety for the Ogryn. In terms of, again, lack of content, since Dark Communion, which if I'm not mistaken came out this year, January 2025, we've had no new maps. Yes, we got the Mortis Trials one, but they are not accessible in the normal game mode, you know, just standard game mode and Havoc. These maps don't apply to that, so again, it doesn't really matter. I also want to talk about there's no new mission types. We've got nothing since the train mission came out. We still don't have a defense style mission. Like, imagine we're just fighting against some of the other Mobians sitting in the fucking Morningstar. Imagine fighting next to a Lehman Russ, for example, we just gotta hold out for 10 minutes. A nice, quick, easy mission that changes it up. Everything's about going in and extracting very quickly. I understand that's kind of the premise. We're a strike team, but that doesn't mean a strike team also doesn't get bogged down and sometimes has to defend. Or even just adding a new strike style mission. Now in terms of like what this mission could look like, I don't know, I'm just spitballing, but I'm sure you can take some inspiration from Left 4 Dead or Space Marine or Helldivers, or even Vermintide too. There's definitely more variety in all of those games. Now that's with the lack of content. We also haven't got any more penance updates. I'm not someone who chases penances, I'll be honest. I like my veteran, that's kind of where that ends. I'm not fussed about, you know, brain bursting at max stacks with the psyker on Malice or above. I'm really not. I think I got 98 out of 100 on that specific penance, you get my point, but I'm still max penance points. So what about the people who do like achievement hunting? Why are they getting left out? The people who like achievement hunting are typically your casuals anyway, because it gives them something to do when they log in. You should be aiming more of your game, just in general, it needs more endgame content and it needs more stuff and it needs more things for your casual players. Like, you can't really pick one in this regard. I think it's just falling behind in both. Then you've also the Commissary. I don't know if that's ever got any weapons. Since Grim Protocols at the very least. The Bolt Pistol and Shock Maul, which is a year ago. More than a year ago if I'm not mistaken. They still haven't been added to the Commissary or any new free skins. And in regards to the Commissary, it's been what, a year? Just under a year, just over a year since Grim Protocols came out. The Shock Maul and Bolt Pistol, Relic Blade, that kind of stuff, they still haven't been added to the Commissary. Like, where's the respect for the free-to-play players? Not that there is any, because you gotta play to play this game, but we all know cosmetics is the end game of live service games. I just think it's either incompetent or lazy. For the content side of things, I think that covers up my main issues. I'm sure there's more that I can't remember in the moment. I also want to talk about the lack of substance in their updates. Like on September the 1st, just before this Darktide news thing, fixed additional crashes, blah blah blah. For the record, there's only one change here, one fix, a related crash to script error, Lua 436, blah blah blah. But this, they added one extra patch note so they could have two for whatever reason. The description of the superiority, Blaze Four Sword Blessing, was updated to also include specialist enemies. This is a change that will be fully introduced in a future update. So for now, there will not be any effect in active gameplay. So you're telling me for the last over 2 weeks now, I'm recording this on the 15th, this blessing has been intentionally made to be incorrect. Imagine you're just some casual that comes on, you just want to play login, blah blah blah, and you see this and like, yeah cool. It doesn't even fucking work like that. Why not just save that change till when the actual update comes? Like, I just cannot fathom why you added this change. You specifically went out of your way to make incorrect blessing UI when you already have incorrect blessing UI in the game that needs to be touched. Like All or Nothing not saying that it stacks up to 40% and multiple others. And you're clearly capable of doing it, because the second people caught on that Hotshot FX melee alongside All or Nothing and the Tac Axe, that was changed in the next patch. So you're clearly capable of doing it, yet you aren't. Again, I just don't understand why. Because that hotshot bug has been told to them since like the inception of it, and it's only now when it got a bit more fucking recognition on Reddit and some videos. Sorry mate, I don't remember what your name was, I'll flash it up on screen, great video by the way, that you then go out of your way to remove it. Like, what? Why couldn't you just make this the patch where you just fix all the blessing UI? It's not enough guys, it really isn't, especially when you consider the fact that Fatshark as a dev team is almost double that of Arrowhead. Let that sink in. Now let's go to to the actual Darktide thing, and again, this video is directed for the people that can make changes. It's not directed at everyone at Fatshark, because I know not everyone has equal say or can make an actual change. So please understand that I'm not attacking everyone at Fatshark, but for the people who can do something, I hope you're fucking listening. Alright, so like, let's be honest with this Darktide thing. Logically, it could have only happened for two reasons in my opinion. The community managers were forced by higher ups to keep the community satisfied, which is a dog shit idea when the community is telling you they want substance, and it came through the notices and announcements as a content update. I just think that's a fucking dog shit idea, pun intended. Or two, they chose to give us something independent of a higher up decision, just as the team of community managers. And look, if that's the case, I can appreciate the effort, but I think it was very out of touch on timing, and it was far from the time to post something that didn't give substance. That's where I stand on that. Either choice just seems like a bad option compared to either one, silence until we get something of substance, or just telling us specifically, give us a roadmap, tell us what you're working on, get us excited. Doesn't mean you have to give us a date, just tell us what you're fucking working on. Now let's talk about crashes. I'm someone that has extremely stable and good internet. I don't know if I took a screenshot while I was downloading Borderlands 4, but I'll flash it on screen now if I have that screenshot. If I don't, whatever. But I have good stable internet. Australia in general doesn't have good internet for a first world country, but I'm blessed enough that I do. I don't experience cutouts, maybe the odd one a month at like 5 o'clock in the morning when I shouldn't even be awake anyway. But I had stopped playing Darktide for a couple of months for obvious reasons, like I explained at the start. The first game I came back was just an Auric. It was just a disconnect, like 10 minutes in, awesome. Because I just wanted to play a game, I played another Auric, quick matched again, got through the game, awesome. This is the same session, by the way. Then I decided to play a Havoc game. I've D-ranked to 35 because that's how long it's been since I played. First game of Havoc, I don't remember the fucking name of the map, but at the end is the event in the Colosseum. I'm sure you know exactly what I'm talking about now. You tag the Valkyrie, come in, this is where it is, then you gotta open up the roof and then you walk out the Colosseum at the top. We had done the second part where we're opening the roof for the Valkyrie now. The Valkyrie is coming through the roof. We just need to clear the final area of enemies. Everything else is done. Like 99% of the mission is done. The entire mission aborts, we lose a fucking assignment, and it's just like, really? What the fuck's going on? Because it's clearly not too many players on your servers. It's just like, is there just a shit ton of fucking memory leak? Are you guys not refreshing and restarting the servers often enough? Like, I would rather you just tell us, hey, at this time, every single day, guys, the servers are gonna be kaput for 15 minutes, so we just do a refresh so you don't experience that. I think everyone can agree to that, because that's just ridiculous. In my first session back, I get 3 disconnects. After that, I said, GG guys, I'm gonna count that as a dub. That's a shame, but it was like 10 o'clock or 9 o'clock at that point, I was going to bed. And I logged off. And then the next day I didn't play Darktide. Do you see how this is not beneficial to you, Darktide? Because I honestly don't think most of you play this game, so you're not experiencing this as like a consistent player, so you think the game's fine. I have great internet and I have a really good computer, so it's not my hardware. This is genuinely a Fatshark thing. And one of those disconnects was the infamous 214. I think I showed it in the fucking gameplay that I'm showing in the background. This game that I'm showing in the background, the first one anyway, that's separate to my first session. That was the next session of Darktide, 1 or 2 or 3 games deep in. The server at the moment is just absolutely shit, and you guys seriously need to figure out something. If that means every single day you reset the server and you need to turn it off for 5, 10, 15 minutes, just please start fucking doing that, because it's ridiculous. In my first 5 games or less, 3 of them were disconnects. What a waste of my time. And as someone who's just lost his father, I think you can all appreciate how much time means to me right now, and should mean to everyone. It is probably, if not our most valuable resource, and is being completely disrespected by Fatshark. Anyway, look, I got a couple of dot points here, but I've already expressed that balancing, especially in Havoc, shoehorns players into specific builds if they want to get that dopamine going or feel like they're useful. So really every class only has a few weapons melee and ranged. There is too much discrepancy between the strong and the weak weapons. Mr. E's done his tier list videos and he's mentioned that same point before. I'm in very much agreement with him. I don't think everything needs to be in line. I think it's good that there is a variance. I don't expect a revolver to perform at the level of a plasma gun. I do expect the plasma gun to be our best ranged weapon, but I also don't expect everything else to be complete useless at the same fucking time. At some point you gotta let go of the lore and kind of respect the people's time from a gameplay loop perspective. Again, that's just my point. Now let's talk on class balancing. I don't want to go too deep into these. I'm just trying to make it aware of the issues. I know I was going to give solutions, but maybe I'll do that in a separate video. The veteran and zealot skill tree is still from the base game. So again, for the people that don't understand what I'm talking about, Darktide did not come out with Auric. Everyone had their skill trees, and the veteran and zealots more or less still has that same skill tree. The veteran has 19 points of tax, 19 mini nodes. A simple solution could just be grouping all the mini nodes, and this is a temporary solution, into one. So every time you pick something, you just take the one mini node that gives all the previous stats anyway. One that'll be a small buff because we will be getting more in our mini nodes. I don't think it'll break the class, but it'll also give us more points to invest into actual talent points. And that could be a temporary fix until we get an actual tree rework. But this 19 points or 19 mini nodes of tax is the reason you see so much stagnation in a lot of like the psyker, veteran and zealot class. There is some easy temporary fixes that you can do to make the experience much better and fresh, but none of them are being done. So to give a more visual example of what I'm talking about, see, 3 mini nodes, 2 mini nodes, that's it, 5 on the arbitrator. You can more or less choose all the good chunky nodes that you want that actively affect gameplay. You will notice a similar thing on the Ogryn, 1, 1, 2, 2, and at the bottom 3. They're there to give some personality and yes, shoehorn you at some point, so not every build feels the same. I can understand that. I can appreciate that even, but then I've got mini point into mini point, into mini point into mini point, constantly over and over, and then I've got random mini points spread out here, and it's not even like the same pattern. You get what I'm saying? It just feels like they're chucked in there just to tax you for the sake of it. Imagine all these 4 points were put into one, and then at the end of here, I just click the one and I can go into any grenade that I want. I'm not saying this should be the permanent fix, but it would definitely alleviate a lot of the problems Veteran has right now of we don't want to click all these fucking mini nodes, they're just not interesting to look at. They're not interesting to read. It will also, again, slightly buff the class because we'll be getting more in each of our mini stats. And it's going to give us some more build identity because we can actually have some extra points choosing some interesting stuff. This will ultimately, if you do this, we just culminate all of these into a single point in the middle for now, where everything's connected. That would give Veteran, what, 2, 3, 4, 5 more points. So what, 1, 2, so you get an extra point here, you will get at least an extra point here, 3 points, 4 points. And then if you want to keep a single one here where you connect them together, so you have to choose it at some point, I can understand that. I'm just saying there's some solutions here where you could make this class feel better and be very lazy until you get a proper fix out, but nothing is being done is the issue. Then moving on, Auric was then introduced to the game, and then Psyker got his skill tree updated. The Psyker was updated for the Auric era of the game. Then about a year later, we get Havoc. We get the Ogryn skill tree rework. His skill tree is now the Havoc era. Now, do you notice something with the veterans? It's kind of just 3 trees going straight down. Then with the Psyker, we're kind of branching more out to the side. This is the Auric meta, or the Auric era, I should say. You can see the flavor that they're adding in the skill trees. All this was added, these little wings, and they got some touch-ups here and there. Awesome. And then again, we'll compare that to the arbitrator. We got some more flair on the side still, because again, it will just be 1, 2, 3 normally. Cleaned up the mini nodes, and now this is the Havoc era of skill trees. The fact that we have 2 classes still from the standard era of game. Do you get where my frustration is? These guys are slower at updating their characters than Games Workshop is at updating their fucking editions for the entire gaming system. I swear to God, I wouldn't even be surprised if we got an actual new edition of Warhammer in the time that Darktide's been out. You know, 9th to 10th or 10th to 11th, I don't know. It would not not surprise me. Another one is quality of life. There are such simple quality of life improvements Fatshark could have done by now. Again, this game's been out for 3 years. Why are there no dodge counters yet? Why is there not more freedom in moving your UI around? Why is there still not a Havoc Psychanium a year later so people can test their builds against Havoc 40 enemies instead of testing against Auric enemies and thinking it works in Havoc? Do you know how many people I've had that think Havoc enemies have the same HP pools as the Auric Psychanium, and they're coming to me and be like, look how good this build's gonna do, should work in Havoc 40, and the breakpoints they're giving to me, I know for a fact are not Havoc 40 breakpoints because I've used everything at this point, and people genuinely think that. It is unhealthy for the players. They get into bad gameplay loops, and then you have people on Reddit being like, why the hell are people doing this and acting like this? Why is everyone doing so little damage, blah blah blah, this blah 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 that. It goes back to Fatshark, with them having incorrect UIs, with them not having access to a Havoc Psychanium so their players can test things. It really does go back to Fatshark. Another thing they could have added to add longevity into the game is some custom lobbies. Make it so. I don't know if this is possible. So I understand Xbox players can't mod their game, but is it possible for you guys to download a modded version of the game? So let's say I made a custom lobby and I made a Auric difficulty in terms of health bars, but I added 3 times the enemies and the only modifier is going to be Inferno, and that's my custom lobby. I'm pretty sure you could get an Xbox player to like download a couple of megabytes so they can come into custom lobbies so they can experience more things. The reason I bring this up is because custom lobbies or an arcade section of your game is a great way to add longevity to a game. Look at Warcraft 3, look at StarCraft 2. To the point at some point they usually do end up taking over the game because the game becomes too old, but you can just keep playing around with the custom thing. I think it's a great way to add some variety and some spice to the game, because there's still going to be people that want to play vanilla anyway. I also think it's pretty ridiculous that again Havoc's been out for a year and we still only have 2 boss HP counters available, and you need mods to have more. Like the second you get the twins, that's 2 boss HP bars on your screen. You might get a weakened boss and a real boss spawn. Like you can have 5 to 6 bosses in Havoc. But anyway, coming back to it, the twins come out, that's 2 HP bars, you get a weakened spawn and a normal spawn. You can't even see what's what. Let's say they're both the same boss type, both plague ogryns. You have no idea which one's weakened and you have no idea which one's the normal one. You don't even know if one is weakened. These are simple UI fixes that could have been done a very long time ago, yet laziness or incompetence. And I don't think it's incompetence. I do think they're capable of this. I think it's just fucking laziness. When a class like the Arbitrator has the Rexplosion, they can't pick up grenades, but their Blitz still shows up as a grenade. It would be very simple to just differentiate the UI so we know who actually has grenade pickups, who has a timer based one, and who doesn't ever need to pick up, like the Psyker. It's not hard to add a small UI element so we can start learning who needs grenades, you know what I mean? I think the option for health bars would be nice. That doesn't mean you need all the numbers, but if people want to have like a small health bar on top of all enemies or certain type of enemies, I think we're just in a state of gaming where people like that. Most games have that. I can understand if they want to keep no health bars, but at this point, I'm saying anything is good. Why do they still not have true level in the game? Why is there even a level cap of 30? Even for the sake of longevity, that people like playing the game and want to see how many levels they've got. It's like an inbuilt prestige system that you don't need to do anything. Just remove the level 30 visual cap on the front end. It makes no sense to have that. And in regards to the store, it is absolutely still predatory. It absolutely still uses FOMO. Go compare that to the Helldivers store, where I logged in for the first time in almost a year, again after all the Darktide crashes, and I don't feel like I've missed anything. I just gotta play some games and I can start unlocking my shit. Do you know how good that feels, Darktide or Fatshark? Do you know how excited I was to play that game again? And I feel that's what your game completely lacks. I lack any excitement to want to open this game. If I'm not doing that, you're not making money. Also, why has there been no Arbitrator cosmetics in the Commodore's vestures since the class came out? Like, you really didn't hook up any unique cosmetics while you're making the class? That's crazy. I actually have nothing else to say on that. That's just fucking crazy. Not even an Arbitrator section in the commissary. But anywho's, that does round out the video. I really just want to list all the problems there, and I hope Fatshark can tackle them, all of them, by the end of the year, because this year has been a pretty shit year for Darktide, if I'm honest. I don't think the arbitrator class was enough. I really don't, especially in the state that it was released. And I guess if I was to sum it up in a relatable way, to anyone that's played Borderlands 3, Darktide currently feels like endgame Borderlands 3 on release. It feels a quarter cooked. Yes, the Borderlands 3 endgame became amazing at some point, but I think a lot of the tools and things are already there for Fatshark. They're just choosing not to use it, and I don't know why. But anyways, that sums up this video. I did want to have more solutions and it to be less of a rant style video. If you want to hear about my solutions, let me know in the comments and I'll do that kind of video. But more or less, this is just a list to Darktide or Fatshark specifically. And again, I want to drill home, this is targeted to the people that can make a difference. I'm not attacking everyone at Fatshark, but there is a core group of people that are just completely out of fucking touch with the community, and like, you seriously have two brain cells fighting for fucking third place. Anywho's, catch you in the next video. God bless. 07. Tell your mum, tell your dad, tell your grandmother, tell your grandfather that you love them. Give them a call today, guys.